It's been 3 years since Coloradans voted to decriminalize natural medicine. That includes psilocybin or magic mushrooms. The law approved also established government-regulated healing centers for using psilocybin medicinally. The state has issued licenses for 8 healing centers so far, and we know 20 applications are currently pending.
Wow. Well, we are joined now by Scott Harpin from the University of Colorado College of Nursing for a conversation about psilocybin therapy. So first and foremost, can you tell us about psilocybin therapy? How does it exactly work in some of these healing centers?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for letting me be here and talk to you guys today. It's really arranged. We're learning as we go, and I just came from the big psychedelic conference, and we're being watched across the nation for how we're doing this and rolling it out. Right now, there are wellness centers that are approved. Everyone is certified as a facilitator and under medical direction, and there's usually therapy sessions pre, and then a dosing, a journey with the natural medicine, and then usually a follow-up. We call the integration period, the day or two later, and some longer-term follow-up. So that's pretty much how it works right now, and that's kind of how the Colorado system is set up. Very similar to what we're seeing in Oregon as well.
Can you talk to us a little bit, because I think everybody knows someone who, has partaken in magic mushrooms, just kind of like as a fun recreational thing, concert at Red Rocks or whatever it is. But talk to us about how this is different than just taking magic mushrooms.
Yeah, when I teach my students at the university, I kind of talk about different categories of use. That's recreational use that we are talking about, the Grateful Dead concert up at Boulder, right? There's clinical or therapeutic use. That's kind of a lot of the terminology that we're seeing now with how this is rolling out. And then there's another category that we don't talk about as much, and I like to call that intentional use. It's people who might grow their own or gain access to it who are using it at home or at a friend's cabin in the mountains, and they're intentionally using and being really thoughtful about why they want to do that. And that's kind of what I have a public health background, and that's what I'm most interested in, is people using it safely and having the education for doing it there as well, if they're not going to put up the money and the cost to do it at a wellness center.
Interesting. Very. Can you talk to us about some of the patients, those perhaps with PTSD? I think of some veterans that I know that, want to overcome some really traumatic memories. Could this assist them with that?
There's a lot of studies that are out there. Even Dr. Coley, who was just here, would probably agree that there's different qualities of studies, and there's some really great ones that are showing some good effects with veterans. Not just psilocybin. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more science around that over the next couple of years. But we just learned at the conference about Texas passing a $50 million state law or state funding to check for ibogaine, which is a different kind of psychedelic medication. LSD trials that are happening, DMT. There's other different categories of psychedelics that can really do well with folks who have had any kind of trauma or PTSD. So there's some very promising, especially with psilocybin. I think we're going to see more of that as we go down the road.
Aside from PTSD, because you hear about different groups, mommies who microdose, right? Who need to de-stress and need to connect with themselves. There's so many different groups. Can you talk about other folks who could potentially benefit from this type of therapy?
It's always a loaded question. There's people are interested in this. It's a hot topic, and I was just talking to Chris at the front desk, and there's shout out to Chris. There's
He's great.
Plenty of people who are. And I get a lot of questions, especially since January, with friends who have long been on mental health medications. They want to get off of those and try this more natural medicine. Again, another terminology we like to say, plant medicine, plant-based medicines, or natural medicine. So really the best place to start is talking to their health provider and kind of starting there to understand. And then again, some people might not have a great relationship with the Western medical system or medicine. So that's where conferences like this or kind of word of mouth comes around in terms of finding out where you can go next for the medicine.
And we only have about 30 seconds left, but are there any drawbacks or people that should not be doing this therapy?
Yeah, there's adverse effects to every medication, and we're really clear, even though this feels like a panacea and a really exciting new journey, no pun intended there, on natural medicine going forward. Folks who have a history of schizophrenia, hallucinations, bipolar disorders, they get screened out of most of the clinical medical screeners as well. And then folks who have had bad experiences, if they've recreationally used before, we try not to let them consider this as well. But again, the science is building, and we're going to really find out more and more as we go about who should be using and who shouldn't be.
It's exciting.
Yeah, Scott Harpin, very interesting. Thank you for your insight.
Appreciate you guys.
From the University of Colorado College of Nursing. We appreciate you, Scott.